Hello, trading has closed on the 5th of June 2024. As always, we begin with our disclaimer, go over our calls, and then make our predictions. This is my trading plan for Thursday, which is June 6th, 2024. Please remember, any trade you make should be made at your own risk. My calls can be wrong. Another thing to remind yourself is that my system it gives targets, it doesn't give entries. Okay, what did we say? We had a target, 52, 66, 57. We said unless we gapped up smartly, the rules call for that to print. We gapped up smartly, so no call. The time frame's off the table, but not the price. We should see that number printed sometime. We also said that the pattern had the early low, tended to be a rally day with a high in the final hour, and we got that. This is just a reminder of what we said. Rally day, high in the final hour. We have a new target from today's pattern, 53.3778. If we don't gap up smartly, the rules call for that to print. If we don't gap up smartly, that's my call. During the day, MEJT said this drop wasn't for keeps, now says this rally's not for keeps. Gives us the target. This is a wall into the close. We'd been railing all day long with 10 minutes left to trade, had undercut all these highs at the last hour and a half, and suddenly there's a spurt like this. Walls into the close tend to represent panic purchases by retail customers, and many times they get reversed immediately at the open by gapping under this low. The catch is this is a new all-time high. When there's a new all-time high, this happens only half the time. The drop happens only half the time. So there's a 50% chance we're going to go up and continue higher, 50% chance we're going to drop. The timing of this move is highly suspicious, but because it's a new all-time high, it might still work. However, it is a move up to a strong resistance area, and if we are going to trade higher, ideally we should be gapping up, even though tomorrow's pattern has the early low. This is the DeMark daily count. There's resistance at one full bar over his TDST line. This prior high was 53.41.88. We've now closed over that number. If we trade completely over this old high, that breaks through his resistance area, be a strong break to a new high over resistance. Should take us much higher. The catch is we moved right up to this upper Bollinger Band. It's pretty tough to get a strong rally when you're right at the upper Bollinger Band. Nothing's impossible, though, particularly in a market as strong as this one. Just be aware we're at resistance based on his criteria. This was the channel we've shown before. This is a new all-time high, but because the channel is sloping up, you'll see how we've stopped right at the bottom of that channel. So that's also resistance. Now, resistance doesn't have to hold, but ideally if you're going to break through, you're going to gap over that line. This was the daily count we had. The old count is in gray. It's possible that we're still in wave red 4. This certainly could be A, and it's possible to count 3 waves up here to give us a B. Let's go over how we do it. We're going to start from this low. This is the same chart we showed yesterday. All I've done is change the length of alternate C. So we still have 3 waves for alternate A up, 3 waves for alternate B down, and now C is equal to A. That's a common place for this to stop. So once again you have a resistance area right at today's high plus a wall into the close. Now again, I think we're going much higher before this is all through. I'm sticking with my long-term target of 59.75, and that's a target. It's not a stop and reverse. I think we could be going up for years. That doesn't require us to go up tomorrow though. And if this is the end of B, and if we drop right from this high, that certainly is a plausible wave count. We could have a wave black C equal to this black A, and that would take us down here someplace. Could be over 200 handles, I think. This is how much. I mean, that's 5,045, so over 300 handles. So if that's the right count, which we don't know, but if it is, I wouldn't want to sit through 300 handles on the downside. Just because you have resistance doesn't mean it has to hold, but at least there is resistance, and we've rallied up to it in a straight line, and when that happens, you better gap over it, or resistance usually wins. Well, tomorrow's pattern has really low regardless of where we open. There's a lower MEJT target unless we gap up smartly. The rules call for it to print. I can't count the current rally as being over, and if we move lower tomorrow, I believe it'll recover at some point, and new all-time highs are going to print. None of this requires nor precludes a move higher tomorrow. The wall into the close often is followed by gapping down under its origin. When the wall takes us to a new high, the pattern works only about half the time. There's resistance from a channel and from DeMark's TDST line. There's a wave count compatible with a short-term high. Bears have a chance to save face tomorrow, ideally by gapping down under the last relative low. But if we maintain prices over that prior high, the 5341.88 tomorrow, it overcomes the DeMark resistance area on the daily chart. So it's fish or cut paid time. You had a strong rally to resistance. If it's a false move, you really want to see us gap under this low. And if it's the real thing, you want to see us gap over this high. And that we're not going to know until tomorrow's open. And if there isn't a gap like that, I'm going to be a bit surprised, but I've been surprised before. It's the pattern with the early low. This is as high as we should go on this leg if that last count we showed is correct. It should gap down if we're going to stop here, but we're in a bull move, and trying to call tops and bull moves is kind of dangerous stuff. So if we take this out, we gap up, I'm not going to fight that. But if we drop here, it wouldn't change anything if we drop 300 handles. We'll have to see how we open tomorrow. We have a lower target if we don't gap up, and that's today's call.